Yeah, this is phase 3, session 1 of the Olympic and powerlifting program. So I'm assuming that you've already gone through the first 2 sessions. So I'm just going to talk about all the exercises in this workout. I do want to bring your attention to the reps and the sets, though. Just do note of how they're changing now. We're going to be doing less repetitions for each of these exercises, so the weights are going to be a little bit higher. For a little bit more information on that, go back to the intro video and review that. And if you're just approaching this video and this is the first you've seen of them, we go to the intro video first, and you want to start at phase 1. Okay, so warm-up movements. Lying overhead rotations are first. So I'm going to be lying face down, and I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together and touch my hands together at the small of my back, and then come to an overhead position. So I'm rotating from down below to up overhead. I have to kind of be squeezing my shoulder blades to lift my shoulders off the ground so that I have enough clearance to do that. Work on your range of motion. Then I got some pull-aparts. Just grab a band and find the right level of resistance so that you can pull the weight across your chest and feel a little bit of a burn there. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, elbows straight, palms up. One leg hip circles are next. So I'm going to be balancing on one leg. I'm going to lean forward, and then I'm going to kick my leg back and circle it around. Kick it back and circle it around. This is pretty tough because you have to work your balance and you have to fight to keep your posture. So it can't be like this when you're trying to do it. You have to be in a neutral spine and then balance, kick back and circle around. Really dynamic balance. High knee skips. You could travel, going up and down with this, or you can just do it in place. But the idea here is to get a little bit of vertical, okay? You got to work on your explosiveness a little bit, and coming through, driving. So if I'm driving up with my left arm, I'm going to be driving back. If I'm driving up with my left knee, I'm going to be simultaneously driving back with my left arm and up with my right arm while extending through the down leg. It's the ankle is extended, the knee is extended, the hip is extended, and then the ball of the foot will contact, immediately followed by the heel to slow you down, and I'll kind of sink into, absorb the landing a little bit for a soft landing. Good one to throw in. Dumbbell thrusters are next. So just grab a pair here, and a thruster is a squat to an overhead press. So I'm going to be sitting those hips back, achieving the depth, and then using the momentum of my hip extension to finish through with an overhead press. And then I can flow through this exercise. But think about really emphasizing the top position. Really establish control at the top with the overhead extension. Okay, now we're on to the strength exercises. We're going to start with cleans. So we're going to do full squat cleans today. And so let's just go over, you've basically done these moves before. You worked your front squats in phase 1. You worked on your clean pulls and your power cleans on phase 2. So now it's time to link those 2 parts of the movement together. Let's break it down briefly here. You get your setup. You got to be spring-loaded here. Get your hips back. Tightness in the hamstrings. Heels down. Shooting the arms down. Flexing back. Bracing the abdominals. So everything is tight and ready to go. Then the first phase of the movement, up to past the knee. The torso angle stays the same. Once I get to the knee, then I sweep the weight to the hip. Get my hips underneath it while still having some bend in my knee. Then from here, I'll extend up and pull up on the weight. And then while the weight's in the air, I'm going to drop down into the bottom of my front squat position here. You can see where I've landed. I landed on my heels. I flipped the elbows through, I caught the bar on my shoulders, and then finished through standing up. Bring it down to the hips, set it down to the ground, reset as needed, and then you'll see this is one fluid motion, slow through here, and then quick up, drop, catch, and repeat. Do one more from the side here. Good. And it's so more than ever now, this has really got to be a timing thing. You should have already established your rack position, your mobility to do that, your mobility to go into a low squat. You have to do that first before you get to this. Because once it's here now, we should have all that. We should be working on the timing, being able to link those parts of the movement together. Great. Overhead squats are next. So, an overhead squat, I really want to take it from a rack, especially now we're going a little bit heavier. Take it from a rack. And so I'll get underneath it in a squat position, get it on my back, and then I'll get my hands out wide for my snatch grip. And usually the best way to get it into position is to do a push press. If you really wanted to do a push jerk, you could do a push jerk. I'll talk more about that later, but for this, I'm sure you can push press the weight that you can overhead squat. So, setting up my shoulders so that they're elbows are underneath my wrists. Shoulders are pulled down tight, abs are tight, feet are slightly wider than the hips, or maybe about hip width, heel down. Then I do my dip, where I stick my hips back a little bit, but not letting my shoulders come forward. And then I extend through, but it's going to be bend and extend through. Press through strong. Get the bar directly over your shoulders, which are over your hips, which are over your heels in the starting position. Now from here, I've got to sit the hips back a little bit while keeping the relationship between the shoulders and the bar have to stay the same. If it falls back here, you're in trouble, or if it falls forward here, you're in trouble. So you have to keep that relationship the whole time. And then send the hips back. Oh, by the way, you probably want to widen your feet a little bit here. If you push press from here, you're going to widen to here, so slightly wider than your hips with your heels down. Okay, so then keeping the heels down, shooting the hips back, and this is going to be a tougher squat for our ankles as compared to our back squats or even our front squats, because we have to be even more upright, which you have to have a greater angle of your ankle in order to get down there. That's usually the limiting factor for this. It could be your shoulder mobility, or it could be your ankle mobility. So we got to work that, okay? And that's what we're practicing right here. And one of the keys when starting out on the overhead squat, or if you're having trouble with this motion, is there's a point where, I bet there's a point where it feels like it's going to break down. Like your shoulders are going to fall forward, or your knees are going to collapse in. You're hitting that point and you're losing it. So don't barrel down into it. Don't go quick yet. You have to go slow and controlled. Stay tight, 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 all the way down. Really work the depth on that. And if you can go to the full depth with your overhead squats, then you can imagine what's going to happen when you then go to do your snatches. You're going to be able to do a really low catch, and it's going to be safe for you, and it's going to be very impressive. All right, next you've got bent one-arm dumbbell rows. So for this one, what I really want is, I guess I can use this, pull this into the view here. But you can imagine this as a bench, or it's a weight rack or something like that, something that's above knee height, knee to hip height. Then I'm going to place my hand down on this surface here. If I'm pulling with my right arm, then I'm going to step my right leg back. My left leg can stay right in line with the dumbbell. Keep my shoulders and hips square to the ground, and then I just pull the weight up along my side here. So I'm not turning my shoulders. I'm actually fighting not to turn my shoulders as I lift that weight up in a straight up and down motion. And then also making sure that I'm not rounding and shrugging when I lift up. I'm pulling the whole shoulder back and pulling into my chest. Farmer carries are next. And so here I'm going to take a pair of dumbbells and I'm just going to pick them up and walk them across the room. Or I can just march them in place if I wanted to. I'm looking for double arms for this one. And you know, I just have these 20s here. This is going to be something, it's basically going to be the heaviest that you can hold on to while being able to walk, you know, about 50 meters. But it should be challenging weight to hold on to for 50 meters. Perform a nice deadlift to get these into position, or you can set them up on a bench if you want to or something, but making sure that you're not, even in this case, you're not sacrificing your body mechanics. And this is, to do this properly, it's like an extra low deadlift. I have to come all the way down here, and then I stand up with it. And then, like I said, you can walk forward with it, or you can just march in place, but you're trying to keep your shoulder blades back, don't let your back round or arch, and yeah, actively squeezing the shoulder blades back to keep that stability. Really good core, and working your grip strength too. Diagonal lifts are next, and for this one, probably the easiest way to do this is to hold on to a plate, 10, 20, 25 pounds, and you're basically bringing it from starting down at one hip, and probably take a wide base for this, and then lift the weight across your body in this diagonal fashion. You end up with your deltoid of your right side touching your chin as the weight's over to the left side. And from the side profile, watch how my elbows are going to stay straight. So when it's down at my hip, it's tight to my side. But when it's out in front, it's out in front of me here in the middle, and then it comes back over my body at the end of the motion. And shoulders and hips stay square. I'm not turning my shoulders. I'm reaching across. Band lateral steps. You may have one of those bands that's specifically for putting around your ankle to do these lateral steps. I don't quite have that, but I have one of these closed loop bands, and I can double it up. It's a little bit too wide, but I can make it work. And then, you just put it around your ankles and you do lateral steps. Get yourself into an athletic stance, okay? So that you're coming down for your deadlifts here, like a sumo deadlift. So take, you bend in the knees and hips. Shoulders are going to stay level as I walk across here. And you're going to be sort of on the ball of your foot as you go. Really great strengthening for the outside of your hips to complement all of our linear Olympic and powerlifting moves. And then front and side planks are next. So yeah, I'm going to do equal sets. Front planks, elbows down, bracing your abdominals, squeezing your legs, and then I'll come to a side plank, just squeezing the hips into extension and keeping the head and hips back. At this point, these are going to be pretty easy sets, but I want you to just stay super, super tight. Be perfect with your form. And then lastly, you've got calf raises. So if you have like standing calf raise machines, those are great. I don't as much like the kneeling ones, but if you don't, I don't have either one of those. So I can just I can set up a plate right here so that my heels drop down and I'm really fully flexed at my foot, and then I'll work to extend, flex and extend. I can be close to a wall and hold onto the wall with one hand, hold onto a weight with the other hand to add some resistance to that, and that seems to be pretty effective as well. Okay, so that's the strength exercises for session 1 of phase 3. You would next want to go on to your cardio, and I'll be talking about the cardio in a video to follow.